Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Intentional Productivity Tips. I am Megan. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner, and I want to thank you for joining me today. You are watching me on USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel, where please remember, like, subscribe, and even be notified when new episodes drop. I highly recommend, besides watching Intentional Productivity Tips, you should also check out some of the other shows because it's all about making your life better. And isn't that what it's all about? I want to thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm excited as every week, well, because we're talking about one of my favorite topics, productivity, but I'm excited that you've joined me today because I want to talk a little bit about what is intentional productivity. When I say the word intentional productivity, or when you see the name of the show, what does that mean? And then we're actually going to have a little bit of a scavenger hunt today because we are going to find your intentional productivity. But good news, there is no mood, there is no mud, there is no costume changes, there's no pirates, so there's nothing like that. This scavenger hunt is you and a couple of questions that's going to help your productivity. So today, let's talk about, and let's get started. Today, of course, we're talking about productivity, but make it intentional, and let's find it. Let's talk a little bit about what I mean by that. So intentional productivity is the ability for you to have systems, habits, processes, automation, and your mindset in a place so that you are moving forward with your productivity. To me, productivity is part of thinking of our life in a flow. Are we moving forward? Are we running around a lot of rocks? How is that running? So today, what we want to talk about, again, is get specific about what intentional productivity is. We are also going to have a productivity scavenger hunt. And then there's going to be an opportunity for you to create an interactive or user-friendly action plan for how you want to take control of your intentional productivity and what the scavenger hunt found for you. So that is what we are going to do today. Again, I am so thankful that you have joined me. Now, as we're talking about productivity, as we're thinking a little bit about this, one of my questions happens. And one thing I hear from people when I mention to people that I talk about intentional productivity a lot, people ask, what is intentional productivity and why do we even want to talk about that? Well, productivity is not just tools or systems. It's your mind, habits, processes, and automations that work together. When your mind is prepared, every action is purposeful. And personal too, but purposeful. This is about your connecting your mind, systems, and action. When we think about intentional productivity, a lot of times when we think of productivity, people will talk to me about calendars or to-do lists, all part of productivity. But when we think about where we are in our world in 2026, productivity encompasses a little bit more about that. The reason I encourage you to talk about intentional productivity is so that you're identifying what you need for where you are in your life right now. It's different for all of us, and it's different throughout our lives. So my goal with intentional productivity is to get you to think beyond a checklist or a to-do list, but it's beginning to think is, again, what are your systems, habits, mindsets, processes, and automations that are helping you get through your day and through life? So today, what we want to do is we want to think about, our productivity. So what I am going to do is I'm going to be asking you questions, right? Here's the best news. Again, this is a scavenger hunt. The purpose is for you to find information. There's no wrong answer. And as long as you're finding what works for you, then you're right on track and you're doing what we need you to do. And that is the most important. When it comes to your productivity, being on track and intentional helps you to get to where you need to be. Intentional productivity is not about doing more. It's about creating space to do your best work and be present while you're doing it. I want to repeat that one more time, just because I think in this fast-paced world, sometimes people ask me, how can I get more done? And I'm like, well, is it really about getting more done? Sometimes what we want to do is think about the fact that intentional productivity isn't about doing more. It's about creating space to do your best work and to be present while doing it. And so that's really the heart of what we want to think about today. What is it that you need in your systems? What habits do you need so that you've got space to live your best life, to live the life that you've created? That's why we're so intentional about it. As I've mentioned to you, and you've heard me talk about this before, to me, when I'm talking about productivity, I'm talking about your systems, your habits, your processes, your mindset, and your automations. When we think about it, all of those things work together. That is the heart of our productivity. What are our systems, our habits, our processes, our motivation? Now, sometimes people are like, I don't know what you mean by that, Megan. What are you talking about? My productivity processes. And I do understand that that feels a little bit larger than what I'm meaning. So that's why we were going to do a scavenger hunt today, so we can look into these a little bit more and get information about how you want to improve and take control of your productivity. So let's talk a little bit about right now the core of intentional productivity, and let's talk about a productivity scavenger hunt. Again, I don't know about you, I am watching Traders this season. Oh, love it. Just like 3 more hours till we get a new episode and find out what happened in the banquet hall. But anyways, this is not that kind of scavenger hunt. This is not like a reality show scavenger hunt. There's no, like I said, costume changes, no mud, no water, or anything like this. The purpose of this scavenger hunt is simply for you to ask yourself some questions and find your truth. So that's what we're scavenging for, right? We're looking for, what do you need in your productivity to make it intentional, and so that you're being productive, so that you're taking control of your life. And again, you're living the life that you've created. So let's talk a little bit about our productivity scavenger hunt. Let's get started. Again, like I said, there is no need for mud or anything like that. But so what we're going to do for this scavenger hunt, I'm going to ask you some questions. All you need to do is answer them for yourself. As I said, there are no wrong answers. Best kind of quiz in my mind. Best kind of scavenger hunt also. All we're looking for is information. I'm going to ask you questions, and if it's not important to you, that's not important to you. Read that. If it's something you're thinking about, then read that as well. So let's talk about our productivity scavenger hunt, about intentional productivity. Let's look at your habits. How do you show up day to day, right? When I talk about productivity habits, 3 questions for you. Do you have a simple way to start your workday? Question 2, do you have a clear way to track your calendar and appointments? And question 3, how do you know when you're actually done for the day? And I don't mean I'm done, but I mean you're finished and it's time to log off and be done, not just because it's midnight, right? So what these 3 questions are all about, your habits. How do you show up to the day? Do you have a simple way to start your workday? Do you have a clear way to track your calendar and appointments? And how do you know when you're done? This part of the scavenger hunt is asking us to ask ourselves, do we have habits for how our day is set up, and for how we calendar and when we know we're done? Okay, that's the first part of the scavenger hunt. We're going to do 6 in total. The second part, systems, where things live. If you needed your Wi-Fi password right now, could you find it? Where would you track what matters most right now, priorities or goals? And is there one trusted place for important information, or several? Let's think about the systems of where things live. Again, things like, do you have your Wi-Fi password? Where do you track what matters most right now? And then, is there one trusted place for information, or several? And again, this is just to get you to think about your productivity systems. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just for you to start to find, What's important with your intentional productivity? And do you have systems that set up for it? I'm going to talk about one specifically. Do you have about Wi-Fi passwords? So there were quite a few years when I had a friend who he never knew his Wi-Fi password. I knew his Wi-Fi password because when I go to people's houses and they give me their Wi-Fi password, I put it in the contact list with their name. So I always have their Wi-Fi password, right? So I have a friend, he never would be able to, whenever he lost his Wi-Fi password, he would call me and I would give it to him. That was his system. Some might say that doesn't make sense and it's not logical. Who cares? You're not him or I, and it worked for the two of us. So this is what we're talking about when it comes to intentional productivity systems, is create a system that works for you and whoever is involved to find the information you need to find when you need to know where things live, such as your Wi-Fi password. All right, so we've looked at habits, we've looked at systems. Does this make sense as far as what we're starting to ask ourselves? We're starting to ask ourselves, again, intentional productivity, scavenger hunt, looking for information about our habits so that we can be intentional, right? So the next questions we're going to look at is processes, right? So what are your productivity processes? How recurring things are handled? How do recurring things happen in your life? How do you know which annual or quarterly appointments need to be scheduled? Where do you do renewals or reoccurring planning live? Do these things happen designed, or is it just a last minute reminder because you saw it on your credit card or you found out that your credit card had expired and you have a new payment due? We're talking about the processes, how reoccurring things are handled in your life, right? So for example, the calendar, it's the same every year, January to December. And we know there are things that need to happen in each of those months. We also know we have in our lives things that need to happen. So the question becomes with our scavenger hunt, how do we find and how do we set reoccurring events so that they're handled and not a surprise? This is why we're looking at a scavenger hunt. Your intentional productivity scavenger hunt is asking you to look and ask yourself, how do you want to identify and how do you want this information to show up in the future? So our fourth area, automations. What happens without you remembering? Are there things in your life? Is there one thing you still need to remember to do manually that could be done automatically? Sometimes payments are that way, sometimes renewals, right? Sometimes scheduling. Is it a scheduling? For example, one of the things I know every quarter on the first Wednesday of the month, there is going to be a pest control person that shows up here, right? When we think about our automations, what we're wanting to think about is what happens without us remembering. Now, we know that in this world, 2026, we know there's automations for things that we set up with people, and then we have automations in our systems, right? We might have automations where we're reminded ourselves every month, hey, here's the birthday people you need to send to. The question becomes with our automations, what happens without you remembering? Again, what is one thing that you still remember manually that could happen automatically? Or where are reminders, follow-ups, or renewals living? And what is your mind holding that a system could handle instead? When it comes to automations, all of us have a different need, space, and speed for automations. There are some people who want to set up automating systems with virtual tasks. There are some people who want to set up marketing or financial tasks, and all of those are okay. This is the point of the scavenger hunt. The point of the scavenger hunt is to ask you and for you to think about, what are my productivity automations? Do I have any? Do I need any? And when do I set them up? Because the answer might be you don't need any. And that's okay too. Again, the purpose of being intentional, the purpose of having a scavenger hunt is to stop and ask ourselves, is this something we need? Or is this something that we can move on from? Again, let's go back to traders. Just like on traders, when they decide, do they go for the money and challenge or do they go to the end? Good questions to ask ourselves. So let us think of our fourth area that we want to talk about. Fifth area we want to talk about. So we have already talked about our habits, our processes, our systems, and our automations, right? So now let's talk about our mindset. When we're thinking about our intentional productivity mindset, it's how does productivity feel? This is a more one that can be more challenging. And I know sometimes there are people like, oh, Megan, when you talk about mindset, that's hoochie boochie. Yes. And productivity mindset means what is your mental space? What is your mental head space? Just like an athlete goes in, has a mindset before they perform, we need to be aware of what our mindset is. Is it dread or is it excitement? Hopefully it's excitement. Because how do we do when we know we're going to have to do something we dread? Do we like it? We don't. So this is when I'm talking about, how does productivity feel? There are some things we have to do. Calling AT&T to pay your phone bill, you just have to do, or have it withdrawn, whatever, right? There are some things we know we just have to do, and we just have to realize that's a have to do. But when I talk about our mindset and how productivity means, when you think about your productivity, does it feel supportive or heavy is what I'm talking about. Does it feel something like, oh, here are these dreadful tasks I'm going to have to do again? Now, if that's true, we want to look at how we do those tasks. Again, there are some tasks we can't avoid in life. We have to do them. So it's, what is our mindset and our approach with them? For example, there is, when I used to live in North San Diego County, there would be monthly phone calls that I would go to the beach. I would go to Carlsbad Beach. I would have my monthly phone calls I would need to make. I would make them at the beach, because then I was making them at the beach and it was more fun. And so something that might not be as fun because it was something that was repetitive, I did someplace fun. So again, this is where we're thinking about mindset. It's when you think about your productivity, how can you make it supportive? Do you trust your productivity systems? Now, this is an important question. How do you trust your productivity systems? If right now your eyebrow is raising and you're going, I'm not sure about that, let's just sit with that for a minute and think about it. I'm not asking you to make major changes right now. I'm just asking you to identify where you are with your intentional productivity, because we'll come up with some action steps at the end. And the third question with mindset and how the productivity feels, does productivity mostly live in your head? Or is it something that you know, someplace you know where you can go and get the information, right? The sixth and final area we want to look at for our productivity scavenger hunt is around our personal life when it comes to holidays, and the most important thing ever, vacations. When it comes to our productivity with holidays and vacations in our personal life, how do you plan family vacations? How do you plan family holidays? Where do dates, traditions, and responsibilities get tracked? Is it accessible to others? And then how do you plan trips or vacations? When we're looking at our productivity intentional planning scavenger hunt, when it comes to our personal life, again, do we have intentional processes? Do we have things in place so we know what we're doing and that they're repetitive? So we've now completed this scavenger hunt, and we looked at 6 different areas where we can focus our time, effort, and energy with productivity. Anything that made you pause when I asked, or anything when I was discussing it that made you go, again, if you had an eyebrow raised, or if you furrowed your brow or anything like that, what that means is that's something for you to think about and pay attention to. Our goal with this scavenger hunt has been to connect with our intentional productivity, right? So when it comes to habits, it's how do you show up day to day? Do you have a daily process of knowing, when do I check emails? Do I have voicemails? Do I need to check? Are there messages? Are there CRMs? Do I have a child's school platform that I need to check? What are the habits of things that you need to show up for? What are the systems where information, goals, and priorities live, right? The processes, how reoccurring things are handled, renewals, reviews, subscriptions, appointments, automations, what happens without you having to remember? And mindset, how productivity feels, not just functions. When we're thinking about intentional productivity, most of us don't have a productivity problem. We actually have an awareness gap. So that's why we've been doing this today. The goal of this has been an awareness gap. So we could ask ourselves, how is it that we want to move forward with our productivity? What's the best way to proceed? And again, when I asked you questions about your habits, systems, processes, automations, and mindset, which of those questions did you ask and think to yourself, I need to spend a little bit more time with that. I need to think about that. I'm not sure. Again, one of my favorites is, it's important when we're thinking about our intentional productivity action plan, it's finding my way. It's finding your way. It's finding what works for you. For example, I had a friend that me being the keeper of their Wi-Fi password was the way that they found out when they needed to renew it. They would call or text Megan and I would give it to them, right? Again, no judgment. It worked for all of us. So what we want to do is have you think and spend a little bit of time thinking about your intentional productivity, right? So what we're going to do is what you found, now what? So what I want you to do, and we're going to go through it, we're going to look at each of the areas: systems, habits, processes, automations, and mindset. And I want you to jot down, what are the things and the ideas or the thoughts that you had? Then I want you to, then what we're going to do is we're going to narrow to a three-step intentional plan, and then we're going to choose one action item, right? So what we want to do is we want to brainstorm all the ideas that we came up with, or the things that are coming up in our mind. We're going to narrow it down to 3, and then we're going to pick our next one, right? So what I want for you to do now is I want you to think about what is one action as far as your productivity scavenger hunt, right? What is one action that, or what are the actions, not just one, sorry. What are the actions when it comes to your habits? What are the actions you want to be aware of? What are the habits that you want to focus on? When it comes to systems, what productivity systems do you want to focus on, or do you feel are uncomfortable in your life? When I was talking about them, where you're like, I don't actually have a system to track that, right? When it comes to processes and planning things, when it comes to automations and mindset, the goal now is for you to identify what are the areas, what are the findings that you had during your scavenger hunt? What were the systems, habits, processes, and mindset and automations? What were the actions that you thought that were associated with them? Write them down, brainstorm it, write it down anywhere and keep a list of it, right? Because what our goal is once you have that list, we're going to narrow it down to what are the 3 things you can do right now to change your systems, habits, processes, and for example, for me, I am coming up on a few renewals that I need to complete. And so I am realizing that, in April, I have a few renewals that I need to have happen. And so what I'm going to do is at that point, I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to put it on my to-do list right now. And so I'll be able to go and do that. So that is the goal of this. The goal of this presentation has been for us to identify and think about, when we think about productivity, it's not just about a to-do list. It's how we get things done. It's how we spend the time in our life. It's how we spend 24 hours in a day. When our systems support us, our mind is free to be present. One of the goals Intentional Productivity Tips has, and one of our missions, is that you are supported in everything that you're doing so that you're able to focus on what you need to be present, to be able to enjoy the life that you've created, to be present doing the work, to be present experiencing. That is our goal with Intentional Productivity Tips. I hope that today has been helpful for you. I hope that you have learned at least one new thing. I hope that this challenge in thinking about intentional productivity and your systems, habits, processes, and automations, I hope that it has encouraged you to take some time and say, what do I need, want, and what am I willing to do for my productivity systems and habits? I've shared some of the things that I'm doing with you today. My goal as every week is that you take at least one thing and that you add it to your to-do list, or you add it to your mindset, or you think about it, that you're actually thinking about making your productivity intentional. I want to thank you for joining me today. It has been a fun day. And as you know, I love talking about productivity every week. So we're going to continue to talk about that. Next week, we do have another fun topic that we're going to talk about. I will be back at 2 p.m. next Thursday, same YouTube channel, same intentional productivity desire, same hope that you're enjoying the life that you've lived, same hope that you're enjoying the creativity and productivity, and that you're having a good week. Thank you for spending time with me. I know that there are a lot of options of what you could be doing, so thinking about your productivity is an important one. Thank you for doing that. And now here is a word from our sponsors right here. Have a great week. I will see you next week. Make the most of your productive and have a fun week too. Hope you laugh a lot. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvandradio.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvandradio.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.